Good evening from Phoenix, Arizona. This is Micajah Jackson, your host for the JFK Report. A lot to discuss tonight. Did the United States ever defeat communism? Does the United States support communism? Last Friday, there was an attack at the White House and all over D.C. attacking federal statues of our founders, our heritage, our culture. But we're going to sit here and support Hamas and terrorists that are anti-American and pro-Marxist beliefs in communism? What's going on here? We're going to get into that tonight and the philosophy behind that and my philosophy and opinion about this and where this leads to. I call it American Bolshevikism. Hey guys, this cannot be done today without the help of Hub TV USA. If you're looking to create a podcast, talk about sports, the gospel, maybe radio shows without the visual, come to Hub TV USA located in Phoenix, Arizona. Please contact me at the JFK Report, DM me on Twitter, my Instagram, any social. I can get you in touch and we can get you to business. God bless. Welcome back to the JFK Report, your host, Micajah Jackson. So today's Wednesday, November 8th. I think last Friday was what, November 4th? 3rd or 4th, and that night, a bunch of, I don't call them liberals. They're not liberals. They're American Bolshevik communist. We saw this 3 years ago, when they were riding all over the USA for BLM, attacking federal buildings, assaulting peaceful citizens, people being killed, federal buildings being almost taken over, streets being taken over and occupied for weeks, destroying neighborhoods. That's a revolution. It wasn't a protest. It wasn't a riot. That is a revolution. And it's going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to grow until we put our foot on the ground and stop the end of Marxism and the philosophy and being indoctrinated in our institutions, our government, and electing Marxist representatives. Did the United States really defeat communism? Because when you look at it, it started off with the Cold War with the Soviet Union. It wasn't America that brought the wall down to end communism. It collapsed. The Soviet Union can no longer exist, and the Eastern Europeans just wanted something different. They saw the terrors of over 80 years of what was going on over there. But even during the Soviet Union, you had Mao's China, you had Pol Pot at Cambodia, Castro's Cuba with the Cuban Missile Crisis and whatnot. And you have Colombia. They're having guerrilla warfare fights all the time over communists. You have the current state of North Korea. We have all these communist nations, but any nation that appears to be somewhat very nationalistic, maybe fascist, national socialist, they don't exist. But why is it that the National Socialists of Germany, before the USA entered the war, Fascist Italy, and Imperial Japan defeated communism and was doing anything they could do to prevent the spread of communism? But when the USA came into the war, in World War II, defeated the fascists, the National Socialists, and Imperial Japan, communism just went all over the world and started spreading. China, all over Eastern Europe into Germany. It's almost pretty much Western Europe. I mean, even France was up in the 1960s. Even to this day, they have very hard communist beliefs and ideas, and they're still trying to push for communism over there in France. France is a different country, but you have Cuba, parts of Colombia, and even parts of all over South America where they have pockets of communist leaders and trying to fight and take dictatorship and power. Now, a lot of these people say, well, we're socialist, but Depends on the term socialist. That's a show we could get into later. But what makes it interesting, though, is the three nationalist countries I named, Imperial Japan, Fascist Italy, and the National Socialists of Germany, they had their flaws, but they weren't abolishing religion, private property, or making everyone a peasant and poor. Because the difference with socialism and communism, according to Marx, in this very book, is socialism is a middle class movement. Communism is a workers' class movement. So those three nationalistic countries were focusing heavy on a middle class, culture, tradition. What does communism attack? They attack your culture, your national identity, because you can't have any of that to be a communist. You all have to be a working class. You can't own private property. You can't own a store. You can't work for this store. You have to work for the Communist Party. It's all for the one party. It's all for the dictator. I mean, we really saw with the Soviet Union, Mao's China, and the current state of North Korea. Their supreme leader is their god. And it makes you wonder now, you look at Ukraine too, where the leader over there canceled their elections, and he's targeting Eastern Orthodox pastors over there and shutting down their churches and putting them in house arrest or putting them in jail. A lot of evil going on in the world, but that's why we have Jesus Christ. So, what makes the USA different is compared. Let's talk about the 1917 Russian Revolution with Lenin. I got his book right here. Great writer. Say you want about Lenin, but the guy's a genius. They used violent force to take over departments, governments. They took over sectors of the city of Moscow. They had paramilitaries. They marched. They protested. They fought to the death. They executed the monarchy. Even the Tsar's own kids and queen. Dark. But what makes the USA different with the American Bolshevik we have in the USA, we're seeing force be used, but in reality, they really don't have to use force to get what they want. They're getting elected in local government, state government, and federal government, or being appointed into government positions. Like, so, was it this week or last week, Ted Cruz was leading a Senate chamber for hearing a judge that wants to be appointed by Joe Biden. And the judge himself, or her, I don't know if it was a guy or a girl, they have references of praising Marxism and writing about it. Where have we gone in a country where we have judges that have been on the bench for years now that are openly communist, but they call themselves Marxists? Like, oh, we support, we're not communists, we're Marxists. No, it's the same thing. So, how much more are you gonna take? Because they're in our government, and we've known this for a while. When in the 1920s, the original reason why the FBI was formed was because they were going after anarchist communists all over the country. And then you had Speaker McCarthy in the Senate trials back in the 1950s talking about how there are actual communists in the State Department. And they shooed him off. He was, after that trial, they just blacklisted that man. It's like, oh man, get this baloney out of here. They want you to believe that America defeated communism, but we never have defeated communism. The only people that defeated communism was the National Socialists, Fascist Italy, Imperial Japan. The USA defeated those three nationalistic countries, which they had their flaws. There was a lot of evil going on in there too. But why did we replace one form of evil with a greater evil of communism, and how much it's spread over the years since World War II? And now it's taken a strong hold in the USA, our education. You got kids learning about Marxism. You got Marxist revolutions and protests happening all over the country of violence for their attacking statues. They attacked the White House, and they're climbing up on the fence. And even back in 2020, they did it. Nothing happened to them. But people for January 6th go protest, and they're getting chased down on helicopters by FBI and being raided of fully auto machine guns in their face and their kids crying. And that is a communist society. There's no question about it. We are in a revolution right now. And the only way to stop it is we're going to have to fight back. You're going to have to dig a foxhole, get in the trenches, get into politics, get into government, get into education, and you have to get these communists out of this country. It doesn't matter if they were born here. You have to revoke their citizenship, and they have to go to prison. Communism doesn't doesn't stop for voting. We've already seen the last 3 years. Whatever you want to talk about with elections, I'm not going to get into it. Just for my YouTube sake, so I can keep putting on my videos. Voting isn't the only option we had. I mean, there's going to have to be more. And here's a good book for you: Society of the Spectacle, a French Marxist philosopher. What is one thing we've always noticed about communism? Capitalism. Crony and corrupt capitalism always leads into communism. Why is that? Where you get bad leadership, you allow communists to come into your country and spread their communist ideas. Inflation, everything gets more expensive. People can't afford to live in houses anymore. People are renting rents like $2,000 for a one bedroom. Jobs are cutting you out. Jobs are not hiring. They're not paying you enough. They're not getting food. Then the communists come in. We're all going to have a living wage. We're all going to work together. You're going to have health care. You're going to have dental care. You're going to have free education. But you have to abide by the communists. Everyone's the same. Unless you work for the Communist Party, then you live on yourself. Man. We need to go to a free market. We need to battle inflation. That's a different topic for another episode, but America is more than in decline. America's dead. But our God is a living God, Jesus Christ. When he stands with us, well, actually, I take that back. We are sinners. God won't stand with us. We have to stand with God. Let's get that straight. When we stand with God and we put God first, we can put America first, and we can end this communist takeover and to end these American Bolsheviks that are rising up all over this country. I mean, in California this week, a 65-year-old Jewish man was murdered on a public street. Violence is here. This isn't normal for America. This is a revolution, and we have to fight back with our own culture revolution and to put America first and put God first. I just want to appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. If you want to follow me, get back to me on Twitter, Telegram, Instagram, at the JFK Report. Stay blessed. Get to church. Raise a family. Amen.